Thanksgiving Sunday. This is the day when we move into the holiday season. And it's just perfect that we begin with Thanksgiving, because there's so many different blessings that come to us during the holidays, and some of them are wrapped very peculiarly. And it's important to be grateful for it all. So we have this opportunity we call Thanksgiving, we celebrate in this country, which is a great opportunity to move into gratitude, to be thankful for everything we experience in life, the good and the challenging. And other reasons why it's a great way to begin the holidays is that Thanksgiving and gratitude open our hearts, enhance our lives, and multiply our good. And who couldn't use a little bit more of that? So in the book that we have been studying these past few weeks by Pam Grout, called E Squared or E2, 9 do-it-yourself energy experiments that prove your thoughts create your reality, we have been experimenting with that exact thing to prove that we are empowered, that God has given to us this spirit that we can create the lives that we want to live in the world that we want to live in. And I just briefly wanted to go over all of the experiments, because I know not all of us were here for all of the experiments, including me. I missed a week. And or perhaps there's something that you want to go back to that you didn't get to do last time. And I think we may still have a few of these books in the bookstore that you may want to, Marianne is nodding her head yes, so you may want to pick one up today. So one of the things I love about this book and the way that Pam wrote this book is she made it very easy for anyone to read and to dive into some spiritual principles without being real spiritual or religious. So there's no dogma in there that would scare somebody away, and yet it introduces them to these great truths that we teach in unity. So she used a very secular language, and the first experiment was the dude abides. Remember the dude? The dude is everywhere. And so the idea of this first experiment is there is an invisible energy force, a field of infinite possibilities, a field of infinite potential. And it is mine and yours for the asking. Here we prove the existence of the divine power, and we asked it to reveal itself to us within a specific time period, to which God says, my pleasure. And some of us did that experiment, and we became aware, more aware of our connection to God and to Spirit. The second experiment was the VW Jetta principle. You impact the field and draw from it according to your beliefs and your expectations. So, you know how it is when you buy a new car and you've never really seen that car before? Anybody have a VW Jetta? Mm-hmm. And that's all you see out there on the road, or other VW Jettas. Well, that's because we put our attention there, and that's what we see in our lives. So this experiment asks us, what do you want to bring into your life? What do you want to manifest? The third experiment is the Albie Einstein principle. You too are a field of energy. So we did that experiment with the coat hangers, and remember, I don't know, some of you did it. We did it here on Sunday morning, where if you think positive thoughts, those coat hangers open wide up as your energy goes out. And if you think negative thoughts, that energy goes in. And so it is in our lives. If we're going around grumpy, guess what we get to experience? And if we're going around happy, the world opens up to us. The fourth experiment was the abracadabra principle. Whatever you focus on expands. And that goes along with our law of mind action here at Unity. What we think about, we bring about. The fifth experiment was the Dear Abby principle. That divine guidance is always available to us. We can always tap into that source that is longing to give us the wisdom, the divine ideas to create what it is we want to create with our lives. The sixth experiment was the superhero principle. Your thoughts and consciousness impact matter. So in that way, again, what we think about, we bring about, these are all kind of tied together in one way or another. But we are all superheroes because we all have that divine power within us to do with what God wills for us, and when we align our will with God's will, it's our will too. The next experiment was the Jenny Craig principle. Your thoughts and consciousness provide a scaffolding for your physical body. I believe you did that one, Jude did that one last week, along with the 101 Dalmatians, which was last week. You are connected to everything and everyone else in the universe. We truly are one. And this brings us up to the last experiment, which is the fish and the loaves principle. And you know, one simple thing about this, I love the way she turned it around. She really say the loaves and the fishes. And I always wonder if fishes is correct. Correct grammar. But here she just turned around and said, the fish and the loaves. Oh, I love that. Just made it simple. And the idea is that the universe is limitless, abundant, and strangely accommodating. So this is a mindset that we take on. And it reminds me of a story of a Jewish family. This is a Yiddish tale. Yiddish tale, thank you. And it's a story of the family, a husband and a wife, and they had 6 kids, and they lived in a one-room hut. And it was really tough, as you can imagine. Some of us live in 60-room mansions, and there's still not enough room. We still don't get along. But imagine this family living in the one-room hut, and as the kids were growing, it got more crowded, and the husband and wife were arguing more, and things were just off. And it was the wife's wonderful wisdom to suggest to the husband to go see the rabbi. And so she did. So she did, and he did. And he went and saw the rabbi, and he told him his woes about how crowded it was and how uncomfortable it was there in their one-room hut. And the rabbi listened, and he said, well, do you have any animals? He said, yes, we have 6 chickens, 3 goats, and a cow. And the rabbi, in his wisdom, said, well, I want you to go home and bring all those animals into your hut to live with you. And you know where this is going. So, as you can imagine, it was crazy. It was chaotic. It was insane. It was a mess. The goats were chewing on the furniture. The chickens and the cows were making quite a mess. And so a week later, he goes back to the rabbi and says, I can't believe you've asked me to do this, but I did it, and life is even worse. And the rabbi says, well, I want you to go home and take all those animals out of your house. To which he did, and he came back the next time and said, Rabbi, thank you so much. We are living in now perfect peace and harmony, and we have abundant room for more. And isn't that the way it is in our lives? When we're not grateful, when we're not appreciative of what we have, we don't feel like we have enough. So if you were to look this Yiddish story up on the internet, it is called, It Could Be Worse. It could be worse, which in it's a typical response in the folklore of the Jewish tradition. It could be worse. So what is it that we do that keeps us from expressing and experiencing abundance in our lives? And I believe the mantra that we use, which Pam talks about in the book, is that there is not enough. How often do we find ourselves saying, there is not enough? I want to read from the book here. We spend large chunks of our energy worrying and complaining about not getting enough. We don't have enough time. We don't get enough exercise or fiber or vitamin E. Our paychecks aren't big enough. Our weekends aren't long enough. How many of you have seen that post that says, I need another day between Saturday and Sunday? We, poor things, are not thin enough, smart enough, or educated enough. It never even occurs to us to examine whether this not enough mantra is true. It's so profoundly ingrained that it shapes our deepest sense of who we are. Being deficient has become the lens through which we experience every facet of life. It's why we take jobs that don't satisfy us. It's why we stay in unfulfilling relationships. It's why we keep going back to the buffet line after our appetites have been filled. It's why we've created systems and institutions to control access to resources, oil, anyone, that we perceive as valuable and limited. If we weren't so worried about not having enough, we could relax and use the resources we have to develop alternative sources of energy, like the sun or the wind energy. I hasten to point out that will never run out. This not enough faction drives us to do things we're not proud of, things that compromise our highest ideals, things that lay waste to the natural world, things that separate us from our highest selves. And once we define ourselves as deficient, all our energy gets sucked into making sure we're not the one being left out, not the one losing ground to the other guy. Eek. Ugh. It's quite a thing that we set up. We wake up in the morning and we didn't get enough sleep. And then we don't have enough time. And on and on and on. It's a mindset that has been put onto our society. But here's the deal. It's a big, fat lie. There is enough. We live in an abundant universe. And it is God's nature to give us all that we need. It's all pouring down on us. So, how do we move from this consciousness of scarcity and lack into a consciousness of abundance and prosperity? Well, the first step would be to replace the mantra, "there's not enough," with "there is more than enough." There is more than enough. Will you affirm that with me?
There is more than enough.
And better yet, I am enough. Will you affirm that with me?
I am enough.
How does that feel? How does that sit with you? There's so often when we are feeling that we're not enough, just because of all those things that Pam mentioned and 1,000 more, when we don't feel like we measure up.